There's superdelegates and there's pledge delegates. But I got to say, for months, I was hearing from Sanders supporters, people in the Sanders campaign, the superdelegates are an anti-democratic institution fundamentally, right? The will of the voters is one way. The superdelegates are there as this sort of thumb on the scale. How could it be possible for the Sanders campaign to then go turn around, win fewer pledge delegates, and try to get the superdelegates to push them over the edge?
Well, we don't know that we're going to win fewer pledge delegates, and we don't know whether either candidate will get the required number of delegates. And then if they don't, it is an open convention.
But you got to make an argument, right, about democratic legitimacy at some level.
Oh, really?
Right?
We don't like the superdelegate rules. It's ridiculous. 30% of the votes that somebody needs to get the nomination are individuals.
That's right.
I mean, one superdelegate equals 1,000 people in Wisconsin, for instance. That's crazy. That doesn't seem democratic to us, but those are the rules of the game, so we have to figure out how to deal with them when he's president. Maybe we'll just go back to one vote, one person.
Well, so that sounds totally sensible to me, but isn't it the case that Clinton folks make the same argument on campaign finance where they basically say, look, we don't like the way the system works. This is the way the system works. We want to change it when we get in. But right now, this is the way the system works. You deal with the way the system is. Except
Bernie said, no, I'm not going to just say I don't like the campaign finance system. I'm going to do it differently. And everybody said, couldn't be done, unrealistic. He did it. He's got over 6 million contributions for an average of $27 apiece. So in that system, I mean, the candidate makes the rules for themselves. Secretary Clinton says, I will take money from Wall Street, fossil fuels, pharmaceutical companies.
Well, but part of the reason, right, is that, or part of the logic they'll say is, and this gets to something a Clinton person telling our own Kristen Welker, that they're planning on focusing on Bernie Sanders as untested, as they criticize him in the lead up to this primary here in New York. The argument isn't just about the primary, right, that there's going to be $500 million in the general. And the question is, well, can you raise that much money in a general, right? Maybe you need to start taking some money from big interests because that's just the state of American politics today.
Nope. I think the reason that Bernie is doing so well is he's doing it his way. He's doing it the way that most people think democracy should be carried out, and we will continue to do that. When you say he's untested, he's been tested many times. He's run, and every single time he ran, they didn't think he could win. They didn't think he could win as mayor. He won by 10 votes. Last time he was elected as mayor, he won by over 70%. He ran against the richest man in Vermont, not for Senate. Couldn't possibly happen. Well, in his last election, I mean, he won that by a pretty good margin. In his last election, he won the Democrats, the Independents, and 25% of the Republican vote. So we're in a great position.
Let me concede to you. Let me say that he is clearly a very gifted politician in many ways, and has been
public servant,
but also a politician. I mean, look, he does politics, and he has been discounted and undercounted many times, and won races that no one said he could run.
That's right.
That said, the scale that we're talking about in a general election, should he be the nominee? $500 million in advertising dropped on him. All of the kind of plutocratic interest he himself talks about, right? I mean, he has never faced that level of sustained attack on the national stage.
But he's never not succeeded in what he set out to do. He's not just a gifted politician. He's a legislator. He is a politician where he is able to say, how do I get from here to there?
But you're confident. I mean, this is someone who had a public access show for years. He's on the record for 30, 40 years. I mean, there are people in the Clinton world, off the record, who will say this, and there are Republicans who say this on the record, which is, give us Bernie Sanders, and we're going to make this guy look like Chairman Mao after we spend 4 months in his archives of whatever he was saying as the Burlington mayor in 1980.
No, I don't think so. I think they'll be hard-pressed because Bernie's been consistent throughout his life, and we can defend almost, I think, anything that he's done. I think that the Clintons have tried to, the Clinton campaign, have tried to misrepresent and distort his record. They haven't been successful. And you know why? And it's been kind of a two-edged sword. He announced in May of 2015, and the media just didn't take him seriously. Neither did the Clintons. But now they do. Over that time, he was able to present himself and define himself to the American people.
It is true he was able to define himself.
And if you look at he got 86% of the vote in Vermont, the people who know him best. In Maine, in New Hampshire, he got more votes than anybody in history of either party. So the people who know him best trust him the most.
Yes. The outstanding question, right, is in an election with 110 million people.
How do you get
to know them?
Right.
And when that dark money starts flowing in, it gets pretty gnarly. Jane Sanders, great pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Nice to be here.